Because if I think about even my own, how I show up as a CEO, owner of a small business, right? I've got 17 different things that I need to do this morning. At least that's how it feels. That's what I think. And so when I think about marketing, when I think about everything it's going to take, even just to set up this conversation with you.
Welcome to the Value Factory Podcast, brought to you by One Accord. We're all about helping businesses thrive and grow through leadership, strategy, and meaningful impact. Now, whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out, our goal is to provide insights and inspiration to help you navigate your journey. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, man. Well, Josh, welcome to the Value Factory. It's fun to have you on. A little bit of background. Your firm, Deksia, and my firm, One Accord, we've actually got some years of history. We've been working on a joint engagement that goes back, I think, 3 or 4 years. So really cool to have you here. Let's just start by letting folks know, about you, about Deksia, and then we can get into some of the fun stuff we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Nick. It's great to be here. The short version is, Deksia has been around. We're going on 20 years that I've been here, right? It was a small one person shop before that. And then we got together and we've expanded it into all across the continental United States with multiple offices. We've currently got an office in Des Moines and one in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we started off as a design shop and then grew it into a firm that wants to offer comprehensive solutions for small to medium-sized businesses, which is where we found a real gap was as far as what a small business might be able to get, right? They would engage with, a web developer, and they would engage with a designer for their brand potentially, and then they would engage with somebody else to build content. And they really struggled to get it all to line up. Like you've seen in a lot of more mature organizations that can actually hire a proper marketing team, if you will, a 5, 7, 8, 10 person team that has a lot of skills. We wanted to bring that to small to medium-sized business. And effectively, that's what we've done over the last 20 years. And that's where our passion lies. We've worked with some of the big ones that we've worked on some Uber projects, when they were first getting off. We've worked with BP That's and awesome. We've worked with Visa and stuff, but they didn't really drive our passion at all to help give business leaders a fighting chance, where we felt that they were really the underdogs in the marketing game from what these big firms were, the strategies and how they were approaching marketing holistically.
I identify, I resonate with that notion of being the underdog in the marketplace, as a small business. So we've got a team of about 25 folks, and we've got our marketing department, right? Our marketing team that's growing, and we're adding folks too. What I'm hearing you say is you are the marketing department, the division just outsourced for small businesses. Is that an accurate way to say it?
In a lot of ways, it's a reasonable way to look at it. We like working with a professional inside of the organization that has some marketing chops. It's a great way to do it, because marketing is uncomfortable for a lot of, say, business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs. It's not their forte. It's not why they got into business, right? So working with somebody that can communicate inside of the organization is preferable. But what we offer is, like, we're similar size to you, Nick, in that we've got, I think we're 22 people now. But we have people on staff. These aren't contractors that we're hiring all over the world. These are 2 employees and team members of Deksia, where we make sure that we have somebody that's deep in the necessary skill set that you require. And you can get them fractionally with us, if you look at it, right? So if you wanted to hire our whole marketing team, like when we're working on your client stuff, there's 7, 8 people probably working on that account. You would need a marketing team budget of $500,000, just to say, to be able to get that level of expertise.
Right. Yeah.
But you can get it from an organization that's built like us, that works comprehensively with, we'll handle all of your web needs, we'll handle your digital advertising needs, we'll handle your brand development needs, your trade show strategy, design, support, tactics, everything from soup to nuts, photo and video. These are all teams that we have. So if any of our clients need them, we can have our creative directors and our art directors that know you really well, right? So we spend time with our clients, we get to know them. But then those teams all work together. So you as the client or as the business leader don't have to try to communicate across all of these vendors and get them to play nice together so your marketing can be effective. That in and of itself is exhausting for business leaders.
Particularly the CEO, the entrepreneur that is not the marketing pro. What I heard you say earlier, I just want to clarify, you like to work with someone inside the company that has, I think you said marketing chops. So then I start thinking you want to, you're best aligned with a firm or an organization that has a chief marketing officer or VP, like somebody responsible for marketing, or do you guys sit in that seat also?
I think a chief marketing officer would be a fairly high level title necessarily. We do work with those, but
Okay.
realistically, it's a point person inside of the organization. They don't have to direct us. We will develop the strategy based on your goals as an organization, right? And where you're going, where you came from, and what the market's doing for you. But we want somebody inside of the organization to collaborate with because there's a mutual accountability. We talked about this before, Nick, is that we want somebody that we can sit down with on a regular basis to hold us accountable and that we can hold accountable as well. Like we need assets from you. We need time, some time. We try to keep it to a minimum, of course, but scheduling, helping us schedule photo shoots for, client referrals or whatever it is, getting real-time feedback from your sales team, getting, if you send a team to a trade show, we want to know what the results are and work on attribution with you. So we need somebody that has the time to discuss those things with us and get us the information. They don't have to be a high-level marketer, but there needs to be an identified point person.
Yeah, good clarification. So our interaction has been when we put someone in as a VP of sales or a chief revenue officer, somebody that's going to drive the revenue strategy for one of our clients, but they don't have that marketing team. They don't have the creative and, so then we work with Deksia. We bring you in as that partner to help us implement. So knowing kind of what that relationship looks like, I think is helpful to frame, how we've worked together and where we go in the conversation.
Yeah. And that structure has worked fantastically well because your team knows what they're doing. They've done it before, right? They're in there looking at other drivers inside of the organization, operational and sales, like you're talking about. And we come in very well working with your team being so sophisticated as they are that we can get together on the strategy, build a strategy comprehensively for that client that you guys are dealing with, and then execute on it with very clear timelines, measurables, and budgets. And it goes very smoothly when we're working with somebody as skilled and experienced as your team.
And well, you honor us by saying that. Thank you. And so let's get into the fun part. So you and I were having this conversation the other day, and it centered around that notion of kind of mutual accountability. And you just touched on it. Because if I think about even my own, how I show up as a CEO, owner of a small business, right? I've got 17 different things that I need to do this morning. At least that's how it feels. That's what I think. And so when I think about marketing, when I think about everything it's going to take, even just to set up this conversation with you and then transition that into, editing this conversation, posting it, running it, the strategy, like, man, that's overwhelming. And I just want to give that to somebody else and have them do it. But I have to be involved in that, right? I mean, talk me through that.
As you want to be, right? So if with us, we do what we call a strategic facilitation with our clients when we onboard them, not dissimilar to what I'm sure you guys go through. I know yours is intense when you go through with your clients. I've been privy to some of that. But what we want to learn, Nick, is when you're talking about, say, this would be one tactic, say this podcast, right? We would want to understand organizationally what your goals are, where you want to get, what a measurable of success looks like for it. I don't know what it looks like. Is it views? Is it clicks, downloads, follows, shares, all of the above? Is it setting appointments? I don't know, right? So we have to figure all that out so we can point towards your goal and work towards it, and then build out more of a strategy. Like you mentioned a couple of things like, okay, yeah, it's got to be edited and then it's got to be posted. And there's probably a lot more than that. Are you going to be using it in email content? There's a lot of social ways to cut it up and use it. Are you going to be using it on YouTube ads and videos, and then building out a strategy for that because all of that is overwhelming. It's even overwhelming to me if I didn't record it and write it down, right? So we have a process that we use. One of our 3 differentiators that we talk about in EOS, like if you look at my, is we have a system, one of our 3s, it's our middle, it's our second one, is a systematic approach. Marketing is overwhelming, and everybody's had a bad experience with it too, by the way. So they don't trust it, and it is overwhelming because you're in a constant state, or most organizations that we work with or start working with, they're in a constant state of fight or flight. What are we doing next? Oh my gosh, we have a trade show in 4 weeks. We don't have a strategy for it, or we're 3 months into the year and we're not going to hit our goals. What's our strategy? Why are we not hitting it? And it's overwhelming what to do next. And they're constantly trying to put out a fire or look for a silver bullet. Hopefully they don't ever get to that point, but a lot of them do. And when you can take a step back and figure out what the organizational goals are for the long term and start building on it today, no, it probably won't solve your problem. If you have a hole that needs to be solved in the next 30 days, I would encourage you not to call a marketing firm, right?
I need sales. I need them booked. I need revenue this quarter. That's not the right play.
The bet is generally made.
Yeah. When you talk about most of the clients that you work with are in some state of that kind of, I think you said fight or flight, or, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's me. And I almost like hesitate saying that on a recording that's going to go out to my potential future clients, but just to say like, man, I'm just like you. I'm just like every other CEO entrepreneur out there that's like, I care about my people. Is there enough work around the corner to keep everybody engaged and employed? Like, I care about that. Keeps me up at night. I care about my clients. Are we delivering what they need? Are we actually moving the needle in their company? And then there's business insurance, and there's taxes, and there's these things, right?
You're watching the economy, like drivers that.
Yeah, all these things.
There's a lot.
It's okay. So you said 2 sets of 3 letters. I want to go back to it. You said EOS and then VTO, and this is where we kind of got. And then in your process, like your discovery process, I imagine you come out with KPIs, to throw in another 3-letter word. That was something that I got excited about talking to you in your approach with clients. I might use the word discipline. I'll say structure. It's not just like, hey, we're a bunch of creative people that are going to make some pretty social media posts and it's going to be really neat. Like, you're very organized and very structured. Maybe a lot of folks don't understand that the marketing game is a game of discipline and execution, and really repetition.
Consistency. Yeah.
Thank you. Consistency. That's the right word. So let's unpack some of those. What's a VTO for those that don't know the lingo?
A VTO is the term in EOS, the Entrepreneur's Operating System, for your Vision Traction Organizer. So it's a 2-page document that essentially surmises who the company is and what your goals are. So you can go look it up. Love EOS. We've been running it for 9 years. It's definitely changed the organization and changed the way that we actually do marketing. Actually, it's not part of, they won't teach you that in the book, but we've applied what we've learned to interactions with our client.
EOS is, by my assessment, the most popular, the most well-known kind of business management system, business operating system. And the language of operating system makes me think of like Windows and DOS and iOS. But an operating system in this context is actually, how do you plan for and conduct your weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings with your team? How do you lay out the Vision Traction Organizer, but in one document, whether it's 2 pages or 1 page, can the company clearly, succinctly, meaningfully articulate what we do, who we do it with, why there's value, what are our 10-year, 3-year, 1-year, 90-day goals? So much of this exists in the mind of the entrepreneur and sometimes in the words of the entrepreneur, but that water doesn't always get to the end of the row, to use this farming analogy, where I think it, I feel it, I know it, I talk about it to my team. But, go interview those 22 people on the team, and are they aligned? Are they on board? Are they clear? that vision traction organizer and the system, that EOS, that entrepreneur's operating system, is what gets everybody aligned and working towards those common goals. Have I said that?
Very well. Yeah. It gets everybody moving in the same direction simply, and gets everybody to know the framework of the organization. So the values aren't just written on a wall somewhere that, discovered one time and put on a wall. They're reviewed weekly. We review them weekly in all of our 10 meetings with throughout the organization. So any one of our team members, you ask them our values, they'll be able to recite them verbatim for you. We make sure of that. And that just helps because we actually do hire, promote, reward, and discipline based on our company values. We use them. And one of the big things tying back into what we were talking about earlier, Nick, in that the fight or flight, or you've got 17 things to do this morning, right? Going into a meeting and feeling busy or feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you're not prepared or feeling like you don't have it figured out or you don't know the answer and you don't know what's around the corner. All business leaders go through that don't have proper scorecards or metrics, KPIs, like you said earlier. And even my team has that going into what we call a pulse meeting with our clients, which is just a monthly cadence of a reporting meeting and accountability meeting mutually. But I don't want them going into that meeting going, is the client going to like this or not? Are we hitting the client's goals or not? Like so many reports that I've seen from potential clients when they come back from working with a firm is like, maybe they get emailed a report or sent a report in some way. They don't know what it means and they don't know if it actually ties into their goals. In the defense of their marketing firm, they actually don't know either. They're just using because they weren't told or they didn't ask, or the clients frequently don't even know what the drivers are. But we have to figure out what those are. So what that provides for us is when we go into a meeting, it's peace of mind. We know if we hit it or didn't hit it. And we can discuss with the client what we suggest for a pivot, or do we pour more fuel on the fire? Or do we put this one tactic to bed because it's measured over a period of time and it's no good and these other things are outperforming it? So you go into it without that fight or flight feeling or anxiety or however you want to describe it. Like, no, we didn't hit it. This is why we think we didn't hit it. This is what we're doing to correct it. Or we think we should get rid of it. These things are going really well. We have more bandwidth, ramp, or runway over here that we can utilize for you. And this is what it's driving because we have alignment on what your KPIs are. And we're working hard to attribute what we're doing directly to those. So when we get an upset client, we shouldn't be surprised, right? And we don't want to be surprised because we already want to have a plan to correct it or have already taken action to correct it.
You can see what the underlying cause of that frustration with the client might be. So
in some cases,
you've clearly laid out in your engagement with the client what the KPIs are. So the key performance indicators. And earlier you kind of offered to me the questions that would be in discovery. Hey, Nick, you want to do a podcast? Why? Do you want views? Do you want likes? Do you want conversions? Do you want calls? What are the indicators that are key to analyzing performance? What are the key performance indicators, right? What's going to make you feel like you've got a win in this particular endeavor? And I just say, if I project myself on every entrepreneur out there, the answer is revenue. Like, I was a banker for 25 years. I would joke and say, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So, so if we're doing all of this, is it for vanity metrics? Like, on some level, Josh, I don't care who likes me or who doesn't like me on social media. Like, I just don't. I care that my wife and my kids love me, that my mom is proud of me, that my friends trust me. Like, there's probably 20 people in the world that I really care about, 50 people in the world that I care about a lot, and then hundreds of people like you that I'm like, yeah, I hope that Josh and I can get along and we're good. But, if I say something on social media and you're like, I don't agree with that, down the thumb, I'm going to be okay. I'm doing this work. Like, I like talking to you because you're a good guy. I'm recording it, inviting you to record so that we can tell a story out to our prospective clients that might help them understand something, but that establishes us as being trustworthy advisors, the Sherpas to carry them up the mountain and get the thing. So there's KPIs. If I share that with you, how might you discover, based on what I just kind of articulated there, what might be some KPIs from a marketing perspective that are meaningful in just this setting, this environment?
Well, we take more discovery, but there's the timing on it too, Nick. So, okay, we do have the vanity metrics, and everybody's going to measure those: the clicks, the downloads, the likes, the shares, right? Great. Maybe we can attribute that to some success or not. Certainly, when you start out, that's what you're going to be looking for, because there's nothing else to measure against, probably, because you need a segment of time to get the data. But then I would be asking you, okay, great. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Well, how do we attribute this to dollars and cents for you? It's probably going to be fairly difficult, but we're going to have to look at it. So, okay, if we can measure somehow and be sending out content for offers to get people to engage, set up a consultation with you guys, right? Which will be down the road. And I don't know what your sales cycle is going to be super important on that. You guys are a long sales cycle consideration. You're probably 6 months to 12 months.
That's
so there's
right.
not going to be any attribution probably for 6 to 12 months, no matter what you do. And working through, part of it isn't just coming up with the metrics to measure so you can say, yeah, I'm happy with what's happening. And we can say confidently that we're doing right by you, but also a mutual understanding of the expectation of, listen, this isn't going to go to the moon we have no expectation of this going viral in the next 90 days and changing the direction of your organization, right? We have to have that understanding, because one of the things that entrepreneurs specifically, but also any business leaders of all levels run into is a stamina issue. I've had lots of conversations with B2B specifically, long sales cycle. This doesn't exist so much in like e-commerce scenarios, but B2B long sales cycle, consultants like you and I, manufacturers, things like that, where they want to spend $100,000 in the next 90 days, and then they're asking for attribution inside of that 90 days. Well, your sales cycle is 12 to 18 months. So realistically, what you're getting in that 90 days, and what we have to do is set the expectation with you as that potential client to be like, here's what you're going to get in the next 90 days. You're going to get new content. You're going to get a new adjusted voice, adjusted brand. We're going to update your website because it's out of date, out of best practices, right? We're going to start on SEO tactics or whatever. We're going to develop your content list and make segments so we can push out this content in the next 120 days, not in the next 90 days, right? So those KPIs in the beginning are frequently just deliverables and timelines.
So a few things, like I'm imagining some client engagements we've had, but I really like to just speak about my own experience because I know that best. The attribution to the activity or the investment, if I say that the way I translate it is, if I spend $15,000 a month, let's say, in setting up a website, managing SEO, buying Google and Meta ads, doing some creative, right? That's not even a large budget for what I just laid out there, but it's $45,000 in a quarter. And then I start thinking, well, where's my ROI? How much of that do I get back in 90 days? I have to be realistic with myself. Number one, to say, when have I ever sold a client in 90 days? First of all, and let's say I'm sitting down with the owner and I'm like, I'm Nick, I'm the CEO, I'm going to deliver. There's no better source of integrity or authenticity than a client talking to me for the first time. I don't convert sales in 90 days. We are a big purchase. For some of our clients, they're investing $500,000 in working with us for a year. Not everybody's that big, but $200,000. That's a big decision for some folks. So then for me to think that I can just go update my website, post a couple of lead magnets and convert people in 90 days, that's not realistic.
No,
it's not realistic, right?
You're going to end up at the end of it running out of stamina, pulling the plug and starting over. And then I see a pattern with business leaders. They do this regularly, right? Somebody's got to be the scapegoat for it. And they cut ties with their marketing firm, or they cut ties with their marketing person, which generally is, I just talked to somebody yesterday. One marketing person, fresh out of college, $65 million US organization, right? And this person's overwhelmed, they're not good at website. They're not good at SEO. They're not good at, you said paid meta ads, let alone branding, designing, trade shows, strategy, photo, video, right? But the company has the expectation that this person can do it. They're drowning. they're never going to succeed by
because
themselves.
they're gonna get halfway around the track and want to get on another horse, or they're gonna try to switch jockeys halfway around the track. And imagine that in a race.
Yeah.
It's a
In
visual.
3 years from now, they're going to frequently wake up in the same spot and wonder why hasn't this worked yet.
So then I had this in my mind as we were talking. If I can put myself in the position of saying, today, I would be so happy if a year ago I had done A, B, and C. So today, how happy would I be if I had launched this podcast a year ago? Today, how happy would I be if I had built a strategy around my current lead magnet, which, shameless plug, we just authored this book, Your Business Could Be Worth More. And I published it. I put it on Amazon. It's $50. I actually invested quite a bit of money in the research. It's a very academic, it's kind of a boring read unless you're a geek like me.
Okay.
8 chapters. At the end of each chapter, there's a worksheet, 10 questions. Answer those questions and it elucidates where are the opportunities in my company to increase value. Okay. Somebody could buy it on Amazon for $50, but I'm going to say, don't buy my book, email me and I'll send you a copy. So now what I've got is an introduction to someone who I know is interested in making their company more valuable. They're interested in doing a little bit of work and we're starting a conversation. Okay. I so desperately wish that this was something I had created a year ago today. I've got it right now. Nobody knows about this thing. It's going to take me a year to build the lead magnet strategy in paid ads and organic search, the landing page to collect the data from those who are interested, a process on the back end to outreach and engage with the folks that are interested. I've got the thing, but there's a whole system and process around this that's going to take me months to build.
Yeah, and it could be wildly successful too, right? So especially if you figure out now you've got all those infrastructures, but then what are your KPIs going to be for success, Nick? How many people reach out to you? How many books do you give away, and how many appointments do you get set off of that? And then how much revenue does your organization bring in for it? It'll be the way that you're doing. It's going to be fairly attributable. You'll be able to track that from start to finish.
That's the idea.
18 to 24 months.
Yeah. See, and you just told me that 18 to 24. I was talking 12 months. In my heart, I want it to be 90 days. This has got to be some tension that we engage in regularly with our clients, right? I mean, they've called us, they've called you, they've called me, they've called us because they've got a problem or a really big opportunity, right? And they just want it solved or that opportunity seized ASAP. I want it yesterday. I want this book a year ago. I want the strategy around it to be all rolled out and implemented. But I'm not going to be effective in that if I don't have the structures that you just talked through with. And you said in your weekly 10 meetings. And if somebody heard that, you have 10 meetings a week, but it's something different, right?
No, yes. It's the EOS term, the level 10. So every meeting starts as a 10 is where the level 10 comes from, which simply just means a great meeting. So start on time, do good work, end on time is how they measure it. And every department inside of our organization has a 10 meeting, which is a meeting that happens at the same time in the same way with the same agenda every single week. And there's a structure inside of it. One of the best things, that was actually the first thing I implemented when I started doing EOS in 2016. And I told my team, give me 90 days. I don't want to hear anything about it. For 90 days, we're going to try this. And it got rid of a ton of other meetings and waste inside of the organization of time and communication and everything, and brought it all together with this. And after my first one, which I was completely green at that I built, members of the team came up and said, we don't know what that is, but we need more of it. And that's when I dove in completely into the system of EOS and the accountability. Wow. And then we implemented that into and apply that to our clients as well. And it's been fantastic. One of our goals is with the pulse meeting, as we call it, which is essentially a reformatted L10 for client-facing reasons. We want that to be their most productive meeting of the month. And we've had a lot of
Yeah.
clients ask us. Now EOS is more popular now, and it's gotten around, but back in the beginning when we were starting this back in the late teens, people were saying, can I steal your meeting format? Well, you don't actually have to steal it. This is where we got it from, right? Go look at this. Go look at EOS, because it was so efficient, such an efficient way to communicate. And so back to what you're saying about the structure. Without those structures, it's very hard to be consistent or successful. Every organization seems to find a plateau. You guys see this all the time. It could be 10 million, could be 2 million, it could be 65 million, could be 100 million. They find this plateau where what got them, and you've heard this 100 times, is what got them there isn't going to, or got you here isn't going to get you there. Right. I've actually changed it because people have actually stopped listening to that, because that trope, like, oh yeah, whatever, I've heard it. Well, what got you here is going to keep you here. This is as good as it
Solid.
gets.
Yep. That's it. The trope, I think the one that is old as time is the definition of insanity, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that it's all in that same space. And what you're introducing is a different way of operating, different operating system, a different MO that reminds me of going to the gym. And that you can see a transformation in a human being physically when that person makes different decisions about nutrition and exercise, like those two things. Throw in sleep, and that's going to be helpful. And then we get into the real nuanced stuff of the supplements and so forth. But really, it's, and the guys that I know that are really into working out, they say that abs aren't built in the gym, they're built in the kitchen, right? So there's some discipline there, but then, adding muscle is in the gym. How many people sign up for a gym membership January 1? Like, we get that story. What you're talking about with your systems, with your clients, is you are effectively the trainer that is in accountability with your clients, and you're providing the pulse meetings. You said you do those monthly?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, with every client.
And you've got such a structure that folks are saying, I love this so much, I want to implement it in my company in other areas. How does accountability work in that? Because let me just frame this from my experience, and I'm really love to hear what you think. There are some of our clients or folks that I'm talking to, not necessarily clients all the time, because this is do we engage, yes or no? They'll say, like, I need someone to hold me accountable. And when I hear those words, I think, that's not the life I want to live. I don't want to be someone's accountability buddy or accountability. I don't want to be the enforcer. Alternatively, if someone says, like, I want to enter into a relationship of accountability, like, I want to be accountable, your structure is going to help me, you can guide me, but I want to be I want to co-labor in this, I want to collaborate in this, then I've got kind of a green flag. But the red flag is like, yeah, I can't really stay focused or disciplined. I need somebody to hold me accountable. It's like, I'm going to sell you a gym membership and you're going to be paying your monthly dues and you're never going to come in. And then you're going to tell me that your trainer sucks.
Yeah.
I'm mixing up some analogies here. How do you do those pulse meetings, and how do you arrive at accountability?
Well, it is difficult, Nick, because they do have to choose it. They have to agree to it, and they have to participate in it, right? So where we see some of those red flags, as you put it earlier, where people are asking for accountability partners or somebody to hold them accountable specifically, is we see in clients that they reschedule meetings frequently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand it happens, but frequently, this is going to be an issue. This isn't important to you. There's whether they show up to meetings and they're driving their car on the phone. That's not a good spot for a meeting where we're going to cover a lot of information, right? These aren't frivolous meetings. These are the direction of your organization and the results from the last month's efforts, where you're perceivably spending tens of thousands of dollars, right? So showing up, but then participating in them. Hey, we needed to know, here's the list that we had. Just an example, right? Here's the list from the trade show that we got from you guys 3 months ago, from all the downloads, or, where we gave them whatever they took, and they gave us their email address, and we've been emailing them. And this is how many opens we had. And these are the people that we can see that you had conversations. How many of you closed, or how many open quotes have you gotten out there? Well, if you can't get us that information, we're not going to be able to attribute your efforts appropriately.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be fine, right? You might be killing it. Money's not a problem. Sales are growing. You're hitting your numbers on your VTO or whatever, and that's fine. But we're going to struggle to get better for you because we don't know what worked and what didn't work specifically, right? So just asking those questions and getting somebody to participate. And frequently it's on a small business, it is almost always the entrepreneur, and they do struggle. We're particularly good at that. We're used to it. A lot of my team has been working with me for many years. So they know what it's like to work with an entrepreneur that they can struggle with some of those things. So, and when we have empathy for them, but then getting them once they get into that meeting and they get into that cadence and we can show them, they can see that this is actually healthy. Like going to the gym, eating healthy, they start seeing some results, right? You go to the gym once, you're not flexing for the gains in the mirror. It didn't really happen, right? You eat a salad one time with a Diet Coke and you're not seeing the results. But if you can stick through it for a while and you start to see these gains, and depending on your sales cycle and what the situation of your organization was in, as far as how much like bolts and tackles needed to be put in place because your website was out of date or whatever, right? Once we can get through that and you start seeing the value, we find that they want to participate because now this is getting exciting. Yeah. It's not anxiety driving anymore. They're not in the dark, or they don't know what they're going to do next. They know what we've been doing. They know what's coming because we have a whole calendar built out. We have a strategy that we're working off of and pivoting, yes, but still working off of. It changes the way they interact with this part of their business, and it becomes a much more structured, measurable, non-ambiguous thing that now they're more comfortable to engage with, and they're actually seeing results. And that's, how you get to accountability, because you have to choose to go to the gym. You have to take the time to do it. You have to have the discipline. We can't make you do it. If somebody absolutely can't do it, we generally will call them out after a period of time and be like, hey, Nick, you're not the guy for this. Who else in your organization should we be meeting with that can help us get this done?
Yep. And in my lived experience, I so appreciate when a partner is truthful and candid with me. Like, this isn't working. This is not how it goes. I might actually think that it's okay, or I don't know. I might just be off. I could see things wrong. And I think more often than not, people that are close to me are not comfortable telling me the truth. I shared with you, I had originally in this studio, there was a red curtain background. And because I was the one that hung it up, nobody wanted to tell me that they didn't like the red curtain. Right? I didn't even really like the red curtain so much. It's not on brand, but I was looking at Joe Rogan's podcast and he's got a red curtain. So I'm going to copy somebody that's already successful. This is my thinking. Okay. When I changed out for the blue curtain behind me, lots of people on the team are like, thank God. And I'm like, what? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And this is different, I think, than them holding me accountable. It's not as though I don't show up to meetings on time and they need to tell me to show up to the meetings on time. It's that I have a blind spot. I saw something incorrectly, and I rely on the people that are close to me to tell me the truth. And it's hard for people to tell me the truth.
It is.
When you're in that space and you're talking to the entrepreneur that maybe really wants to be involved in marketing because they understand how important it is. They know that this is critical to lead gen and getting their offer presentation right, but they're just too busy. So they're taking every call in the car because they are legitimately busy. And then you have to step in and say, Nick, you love this. It's something you're passionate about, but you need to pick somebody else on your team to be responsible for it.
Yeah, because we're not going to be able to get it done for you under these, whatever the circumstances are. I had a great example last year with a client we've had for a few years. So we've got a lot of trust built up with them. Maybe it's 2 or 3 years. The business owner who we'd started with had moved out. and put a team in place to work with our team. And things weren't going great. We have anybody in our organization can put a client off track for any reason. They haven't shown up to meetings. The communication feels like it's off. The metrics that we're measuring don't feel like they're going in the right direction. Whatever it is, they can raise a hand, and then there's a team that looks at, okay, what's going on with this? How do we correct this? How do we make it right? Whatever it is. Well, they had raised their hand about this particular client because things weren't moving. And you talk about this mutual accountability. Inside of these Pulse meetings, they're photo and video done because we need assets, we need products online, things like that. We're setting it up. Quotes have been given, they've been approved, but we're not getting the locations and the timelines and anything. This is month 1, month 2, say month 3, right? I end up getting a call from the business owner. Hey, why isn't this stuff getting done? What's going on? And I said, hey, listen, I'll make you a deal. If you come to the next Pulse meeting, I will be in the next Pulse meeting with you as well, right? They came in. I had already gone to one and watched. They came to the Pulse meeting. They went through it. My team was running the Pulse meeting. Me and the owner were there, not fully participating. We weren't facilitating, right? We went through the meeting because I just asked him, I said, we'll connect afterwards. We connect afterwards. I said, where are you at? He's like, I see the problem. My team is not communicating with me. They don't feel like they can make decisions. They're just in paralysis.
Wow.
I said, great. Okay. How are we going to help you get through this? I know you don't want to be in all these meetings, but if you don't have somebody that's also willing to, even though you've maybe empowered them, maybe they don't feel that they're empowered. You've told them they were based on how you treat them. I don't know. But they're not getting it done. So what do you want to do? So then he's got to work with his team to figure out what their accountability is going to be to get it done. So we spent like the next 4 months in each one of those meetings together, getting that team back into a cadence. And we're still working with that client today, but it was going off the rails. I mean, they were paying us, like you're thousands of dollars every month, more than $10,000 a month. And arguably, I would say they weren't getting a value because they weren't taking ownership of it or taking responsibility for it. Like we're doing things for you, but it's all just sitting here on the shelf and you're not implementing. We know we're not giving you value. We have to give you value. Help us give you value. You have to participate in it and help and be responsible for some of that. And that candid conversation that we had with the owner and him being willing to look at the blind spot, as you put it earlier, Nick, saved the relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know what I think is your systems saved the relationship. Here's how I'm kind of connecting into this conversation is another trope, another tweet out there. We don't rise to the level of our ambition. We fall to the level of our systems in this case. When we're put under pressure, our default is always back to our system. Like when there's pressure, when there's distraction, when there's the 17 things I have to do this morning, it's why the Checklist Manifesto is such a great book. It's why surgeons go through, why airplane pilots have disciplined checklists. It's not because they aren't smart. It's because those systems are in place. And you just talked about how your system was in place to really keep that relationship from going off the rails. You could demonstrate it. The question here is just escaped me. I should have had a system. I'm going off the rails. Isn't that funny? Here it is. The notion of, okay, so Deksia is a marketing firm, like just broadly speaking, right? Marketing. When I think of marketing, so I'll project this on everybody. When people think of marketing, they think of the pretty stuff. They think of the commercials, the ads, the visuals, right? We haven't talked about that at all today. We haven't talked about the output. We haven't talked about a creative ad campaign or, a commercial or a website. But what I want to say to you is I feel a high degree of security or trust, or there's integrity around how you show up for your clients and how you get stuff done. It's almost as though I would buy the systems and have a lot more faith in that than looking at the pretty website. Is that making sense? Like, am I saying, does that resonate with you with your client relationships? Do you see that people engage with you because of that?
Yes and no. It depends. It's a
Okay.
personality or a values match.
All right.
Some people, engineers, manufacturers, they love it when we're like, hey, we have a systematic approach and here's our system and our process and how it goes through. This is how we measure it, where we measure it, and here's the KPIs and amazing. They love it.
You're talking my love language now, so maybe
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It could be, but you get in front of a sales oriented CEO or entrepreneur who has made their bones and their superpower is shooting from the hip and building quick rapport with people and making snap decisions on small amounts of information. That sounds exhausting. Like,
Ah,
hold on, what? Ugh. I get people need to do it, but a lot of times when we're talking to them, Nick, and and they're coming in and saying, "Hey, I need sales for next quarter or whatever," and we're saying, "Well, let's take a step back." Whoa, 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 whoa! I'm not taking a step back. I'm 3 steps ahead. We do struggle with some of those types because we have to the approach that we've decided to take, and this is from decades of doing this, and we haven't succeeded for all of our clients over the last 20 years, right? So this is decades of trial and error and success and failures at degrees. And we know that if we take a step back and we look at who you are as an organization and what you have out there in the world, this content, like if you came to us in a year and we didn't have a relationship and you're like, hey, I want you guys to, take a look at being One Accord's marketing partner, right? We'd be like, great. We're going to sit down for 4 or 5 hours with you and your leadership team, and we're going to go through this process. And then, by the way, I'm going to need all of your assets. I'm going to need access to everything because we're going to audit everything online, visual, the written word. We're going to look at the colors. We're going to assess them against the archetypal process that we're going to go through with you. And we're going to come back and say, hey, is this on brand or off brand? And these are the things that need to be done. And a lot of times our clients don't want to take the time or the money to do the blocking and tackling. No. I need an ad campaign. Well, what good is an ad campaign going to do if your messaging is wrong? And frequently we get second generation businesses or businesses that have been around for 30 years and they've changed their company and they're a lot of times their name's not relevant. Their logo's way out of date. The experience that they have on their website is not going to work for any sort of real conversions. And potentially they're even coming from an engagement with another marketing firm that was doing ads already that didn't succeed. Well, okay, why didn't they succeed? Let's take a look at some of the other levers that we can pull in this. And it's your messaging and your other assets and stuff. And that sort of thing sometimes can really turn off. Like a sales-driven CEO is like, we got to move faster. Well, you really shouldn't, because that's why you haven't seen results already. It's not because the last firm you were working with didn't know how to do paid ads, probably, or or SEO or whatever. It's because either you didn't listen or they didn't know how to, or they don't work on the brand and the messaging in the website and all the other assets that support a comprehensive marketing strategy. They were doing a
yep.
tactic that didn't work.
Yep. That is really good word. Focusing on tactics versus strategy. And often it's so easy to point to the tactic. I need advertising. I need a lead magnet. I need a new website. I need a landing page. I need a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a tactic that has to be a part of a broad strategy. Now, I was thinking when you talked about the investment in diligence that, let's do 4 or 5 hours. Let me have access to all of your assets, right? And I think of even myself, my first reaction is like, yeah, but we don't even know each other yet. You want me to give you access to my Google Drive with all my stuff? But how is this different than if I hire a chief marketing officer or I hire that kid from college to run the marketing of my $65 million company? And I say, okay, well, here's a laptop. Here's access to everything. Now you get to be in it 8, 10, or 12 hours a day, and you get to figure it out. I'm asking myself this question. Why do I perceive a difference between if I hire somebody internally, give them the keys to everything, and say, go be creative and imaginative, or I hire Deksia or whomever else, and I'm like, no. Like, you guys should be bringing tactics, and you should have the answers before I have the questions. And I don't need to give you, just go look at my website. You'll see what's there.
I think a lot of it is because of the way that they potentially do business and have had to interact with their clientele. It's frequently different. I mean, you guys are consultants, trusted advisors, as are we. So we have a mutual language, if you will, with some of this. But we lose a lot of opportunity with our clients because we won't come to them with the strategy. No, I'm coming to you with a system. I'm coming to you with a process that I can show you that works because it's consistent, it's repeatable, and we've done it across the country and around the world, organizations across industry at all different levels, and it has worked. That's what we're bringing to you. And here's the initial engagement. Well, a lot of times, well, just bring me the strategy. I don't even know you yet. We don't really know what you're trying to accomplish. I don't know where you came from. I don't know if your website's right or wrong. I don't know if your other assets are right or wrong. I'm not just here to sell you SEO like the last person you talked to, because that's all they do. I want to figure out the right direction for you. And I liken it to a bundle of sticks, right? One tack, one stick. I don't have a lot of confidence in that. If that breaks, you're done. I want a bundle of sticks. It's a lot stronger. Some of them on the top or the bottom might break when under stress. Fine. They won't all break. Something's going to work, and we can pivot, rotate those sticks around, and use them with a full comprehensive strategy. So many times people go out looking for the stick, and then or just one tactic, and then they also want it done super quick. For whatever reason, when they're engaging with a consultant or outside firm, it's like, well, no, why can't you do this right now? Well, to your point, Nick, when you hire a CMO, what's going to be the ramp time for them? They got to come in. They're going to be sitting down with your team, interviewing. I would expect them to anyway. They're going to interview your team. They're going to go back and look at all your historical data or what you do have. They're going to assess all of it, and then they're going to sit back and participate in some of this for a while. Then they're going to come up with a strategy to pivot. Well, you're 3 months in, right? By the time these things happen, then they're starting to execute. More likely than not, they're not able to do it on their own. They're bringing in usually the firm that they've been working with or the people they've been working with as contractors or employees, right? And then they're implementing it. And if you're in a B2B sales cycle, you've got a year where this person is ramping this up and getting. Now, there are cases, like if you're not doing anything, you're going from 0 to 60, then yeah, you'll see some results. Like if you're not doing any content, if you're not doing any email outreach or not getting in front of your clients in any way, you can see really quick results there. It'll be a spike and it'll plateau. But for a lot of mature businesses, you're going to have to invest and give somebody that time, whether it's a consultant or an employee that you hire. And to your point, why don't we do it? I don't know. I have more legal binding contract with the NDA that we sign, right? Before you show it to me than your employee does.
Right. Yeah.
It's got way more.
The employee could walk with all those digital assets, and what are you actually going to do? Are you going to sue Bob?
You can sue Bob, but what's Bob worth?
What are you going to get? Like that's a really good point. So thinking about this, like we are similar as consultants, as professional service agencies, organizations, in that there's a fair amount of education that we have to do up front with a client before they buy from us. So, if I'm going to go buy a car, I know what I'm buying. Like there's a steering wheel, there's a gas pedal and a brake. I know the body style, like I know what I'm buying. If I'm engaging in professional services, it's not something I do. I don't, I drive a car every day, but I don't engage with a consultant every day. I don't really know what I'm buying. So even in this conversation right now, as this becomes a part of our asset library, this is a part of the awareness phase in our sales funnel, right? This is educational content for the owner of the company that is considering, I need to do something different in marketing. So they might be paying attention to this conversation, and they're going to learn like, oh, I didn't think that a marketing agency would run on EOS. Like, that's interesting. Systems, disciplines, cadence. It's going to take 90 days. If I'm in B2B, it's going to take me a year or longer. If I want to stand up a podcast, I'm probably not going to see results from that for 18 or 24 months, really. So this is educational. Then as our customers, as our prospective clients become more informed, and they start to think, well, who might I like to work with now that I understand? Then we say, okay, well, I resonate with this systematic approach. Like that fits with me. I'm the engineer type. I like to see KPIs and numbers and data. Or somebody's like, nope, that stuff bores me. And then we can say, well, then we're not the right fit unless you bring somebody on the team that is that way and they can be the implementer. That makes sense. And then we come down to, where's the offer? So I just want to ask that question of you and Deksia. What is the service that you provide that's tangible that folks could understand and know? You've kind of talked around, but go direct. Like what do y'all do?
So the first thing that we offer that's tangible that I believe every organization needs is what we call an AMP. It's an annual marketing plan. And most don't work off of it. Their annual marketing, I know, Nick, because I see them all the time, right? We ask for that stuff from what are you doing? Well, here's the 5 trade shows we do. Great. What's your strategy for each one? Well, what do you mean? We go, we set up the booth, we shake hands, and we come back and we get some emails, right? We want to get 5 leads, whatever, per. Okay, but how do you measure that? What do you do before? What do you do more specifically during? What do you do after? They don't know any of that. This is not a strategy. This is just a tactic. And they probably have a tactic soup where they have some SEO, but the SEO people don't have any idea what they're around their trade shows or if they should be doing anything for that. And they have all these other things. So we say, take a step back, go through the strategic facilitation with us. It's all you have to do. I'm not locking you into a year contract with me. A lot of people try to do that. I get it. It really increases the value of your firm if you have a bunch of people under contracts, right? We don't. We're essentially month to month. You can cancel with us 30 days notice anytime. That's how I like to do business. So we've done business with our clients like that too. But really just start off with, we're going to sit down with you, bring in your leadership team or representatives of your organization that you want to empower to make these decisions and go through our facilitation. We will audit all of your stuff, tell you why it's right or how many degrees wrong it is, what should be changed on it, what the order of importance of all of these things should be to support future tactics and growth, what the timeline and the budget for each one of those things could be. And we build, it's like depending on the complexity of your organization and how many audiences you have, it can be a 40-page document of really tangible information that people inside of now, the entrepreneur, unless they're like you, they don't want to use it so much, right? Because they're flying from the hip. But their inside team definitely loves using it. I have clients that have been using it for years that aren't even using, they've brought in and built full-size teams in-house. They reach back out to us from time to time, years later, asking to update it. Mm-hmm. They love it. They still use it, right? It's more than a brand guideline or a style guide that you're used to. And then adding on to that, you have the AMP, the annual marketing plan. Now, if we get through that and you want to do it fully in-house, or that's fine. Here you go. It's yours. Take it with you. We're done. Come back if you want to talk to us later, right? That's the thing that everybody needs. And if we're going to succeed for you, we need it. You can't come to us and say, hey, I want you to build my website and do my digital ads or build a brand for this new product I have. Well, great. We're going to take you through the facilitation and provide you with an AMP for that. That's where it starts.
That's it. That's the offer. And it is, how long does it take from start to finish to deliver the AMP?
4 to 6 weeks, depending on your availability. And the price varies depending on how many audiences you have, but it is set. And the other thing for EOS companies, I guarantee it. You get to the end of it and we get done with it. You're like, this isn't what I thought it was, or, I don't like the way you drink your soda. I'm out. Here's your money back. God bless.
Wow. That's solid. Why do you do that for EOS companies?
Because EOS companies they have an accountability structure in place. We understand them. We have a common language. EOS companies have a level of health inside of their leadership team that if you've been doing consulting for any amount of time, when you go into a company, you're like, nobody knows, or nobody's in charge with this one person. All these other people are just figureheads, or their communication's no good, or they're not on the same page. Whatever it is, right? They're not bad people. They're just operating like I did 20 years ago, probably, or 10 years ago. But EOS companies, it's like, no, this person's responsible for this. This person's responsible for this. We know who the decisions maker is. They know who they are. They know what their goals are because it's written. they've agreed to it, they've gone through it. So our likelihood of success with them at the end of this is very high. In fact, I've never had anybody even take me up on it.
So you've got, when folks are they're thinking about, they're considering, I want to hire a marketing agency. I know I need to fix my leads, my rev, whatever it is. I'm considering marketing. They've learned about Deksia. They understand. They hear you. They like you. They like the offer then is, let's get in and do this diligence, and we're going to deliver to you a plan. And if it's an EOS company, you've got a guarantee. That's solid. That's clear. And for some, they're going to self-implement. For others, they say, hey, I want you to help me with all of it or some of it, and then you can deliver on all of it or some of it. Yeah, that's awesome. Josh, I could probably talk to you for another hour about a lot of other things, but it's been an hour. That's what I asked you for. That's what you gave me. Really generous. Thank you for coming and hanging out in the Value Factory. I hope that folks that are listening or have picked up something from this conversation. I already have a few things that I want to implement internally. So thanks for sharing your perspective and expertise. Any final thoughts for the folks that might be listening?
Well, if they have any questions, they could certainly reach out. But I'd say if they're looking to outsource marketing, ask some of the questions that we talked about. And you don't have to come to Deksia, right? Just ask for, how are you going to be held accountable? How are you going to measure this? What's the comprehensive strategy in the KPIs for it? Just ask those things, right? And make sure you feel comfortable with it. Not too comfortable, because you should be a little uncomfortable, but that you believe it, right? And then you have faith in it, and then give it a try. But things that are too good to be true, or people that are promising you a strategy without getting to know your organization, I just haven't seen any that are worth their salt. I understand their pressure to do it. I understand the business owner's pressure to believe it or buy it, but I rarely see it work. And what people lose is time.
Yeah. So Deksia, Dexia.
Deksia. It's Greek.
Thank you. Deksia, just to clarify. We'll put links in any of the copy that goes along with the post. You've been around 20 years. You have an offer that is a comprehensive review with a guarantee that you would give money back. I think there's a lot of credibility in that. And I just resonate 100% with the accountability conversation, the systems conversation. So I think you do a good job of finding the right people that are the right fit. Awesome. Thanks, Josh.